it does to some people. If it's your birthday, if it's your birthday today, the day matters, the date matters, doesn't it? But anyway, so good morning, everybody. First of all, I'd like to say good morning to my spirit guide, Gregor, who, as always, is standing right by my, my right side. What am I thinking? And I'd like to say good morning to Chris. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Rosemary. Hello, everyone.
And just a heads up, giving full disclosure, you may hear noises in the background from time to time. You might hear some splashing, you might hear some squealing, and a little boy having a good time. You might hear him yelling out for his mummy or for me. Yes, they're still here. My darlings are still here with me. And we have a couple more days before they head back to New York and to the freezing cold. I understand it's snowing there. Chris, how is it in Vermont?
Oh, it's definitely snowing. Snow that doesn't melt.
Oh, really? Oh, dear. Well, today here it's, actually, it was very chilly this morning. It was really, really chilly. It was 55 degrees. I know that's not chilly for you guys. What are you, in the 20s and 30s right now? Anyway, it was 55 degrees, and it's going to sort of get up to a nice 79 or possibly even an 80 degrees, which may sound really hot to lots of you, but we're right on the coast, and so we've got all of those phenomenal sea breezes, and it's just it's going to be an absolute perfect day. We've got blue skies, lots of sun. Am I really, really upsetting you now, Chris? Do you really wish you were here?
Oh, definitely. Swimming in the ocean, you bet.
Well, I don't know it's swimming in the ocean time, although we did actually go to the beach yesterday afternoon. I don't know if you can see how red my nose is this morning. We went to the beach yesterday, and it was a beautiful day, but it was, oh gosh, it was a cold wind. But there were people actually swimming in the sea, but it's still a little cold to be doing that, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, no one will catch me in the sea at this time of year, wherever, well, unless of course we're in the tropics, and that's a whole other thing. Right, so excuse me. So our topic this morning, we're still into February, as I said right at the beginning of all of this. And because we're still into February, February is the month of love. It's the month of Valentine's. Lots of people were proposed to. Lots of people are wearing nice engagement rings right now. It's all about relationships and compatibility and so on. So we thought we delve a little bit. The topic today would be delving a little tiny bit into soul signs, just a little taste of it into soul signs. A lot of people, when I talk about soul signs, think I'm talking about astrology, and there could be nothing further from it. Having said that, everything is connected to everything else. But soul signs, although it might sound a little bit like astrology, is a very, very different thing altogether. We have in soul signs, we have 5 groups. Now, just think of it. Just think of this earth plane. Just think of this earth of ours. Just think of all of the beings that are on this planet Earth. And this whole group of us is called a cluster. It's called an earth cluster. Those of you who know about the stars, about astronomy, you'll know what clusters are. You'll see, for instance, if you look in the sky and you see the 7 sisters, it's a cluster of stars which make up a certain shape or a certain type of energy. Or what else have you got? You've got all sorts of, you've got the plough, you've got lots of different star clusters out there, all grouped together. And when you look out into the sky, they do seem to make different shapes. Well, on this planet Earth of ours, we are, in fact, all the creatures on this Earth of ours are what is known as a soul cluster, an Earth cluster. And so, weirdly, all right, we can divide that cluster. We can divide this particular cluster that we are a part of. We can divide it into 5 groups. Those 5 groups are five different types of energy. We've got the energy of water, earth, fire, air, and sulfur. And so there are five different types of very specific energies that this soul cluster, this earth cluster of ours, is made up of. Have I lost you? I probably lost you a little bit, but anyway, I find it extremely interesting. I find it to be a very fascinating subject, but we're going to take one or two of those, maybe even a few of those examples of the different groups that we are. So we're going to look at, for instance, first of all, we're going to look at, let's see, what are we looking at? We're going to look at Earth, those of us who are created from a very specific soul cluster. So we're going to look at the energy of Earth. And we're also going to look at the energy of water. So we have part of the soul cluster is made up of the energy of earth, and part of the soul cluster is made up of the energy of water. And I've chosen these two examples because they are of all of the people around, of all of the energy, of all of the souls that are out there, they are the most compatible in their two groups. Likewise, if we look at the energy of of fire and air, those two groups are extremely compatible. So let's just give some examples. In our Earth cluster, we have three different soul types. We have the hunter, we have the visionary, and we have the warrior. And there are those three different soul types in our Earth cluster. In our water signs, in our water energy, we have, gosh, I can never remember, we have the old soul. What else do we have here, Chris?
We have the peacemaker
We
and
have
the
the
seeker.
old soul, the seeker, and the peacemaker. Okay, so we've got now, we're looking at six different soul signs, six different soul types. On the one hand, we've got the warrior, the visionary, and the hunter, and that's the earth. And on water, we've got the old soul, the peacemaker, and the seeker. And all three of the water signs will go compatibly very well with all three of the earth signs, because water feeds earth, earth gives water a place to flow. Simple, really, isn't it? So if you are an earth sign or a water sign, if you're an earth sign, you're looking for a water sign to be the most compatible partner for you. If you are a water sign, you're looking for an earth sign to be the most compatible. Of course, we know that that doesn't happen always, does it? Because very often an earth sign, like myself, let's say, an earth sign will end up with a fire sign. Oh, you couldn't get you couldn't get two souls who are so far apart. When they get together, here's the thing, think about this. A fire sign, well, will scorch earth whenever they're given the opportunity, and an earth sign will put that fire out. Oof, not allow it to grow, not allow it to do anything really. So it gives it no air whatsoever. So if you are an earth sign and you are with a fire sign, you're going to be always struggling. Earth sign's always going to be getting scorched. Fire sign's always going to be putting, getting sort of can't breathe, can't survive, sort of feeling suffocated. This is how it all works. We're putting this in very simple terms. So when you read about soul signs, and I'm just giving you just a little taste of this, if you are, for instance, an air sign, I love air signs. They are just flowing, floating out there. They're our easygoing lot. They are that just fabulous, beautiful group of people who are just sort of floating along. However, being an earth sign, they could only float along for so long in my arena before I'd get frustrated with them. So they might be compatible to a point, but then not, because I would get impatient with them. But think about it, air needs something to boost it, something to warm it. Fire without air is nothing. It just is gone. It's exhausted itself. It's just, so fire needs air to survive, to grow, to become more of. And air needs to have that fire in order to feel better, in order to feel good, in order to sort of thrive and survive. Chris, what do you think so far? Is this an interesting concept that we're having here?
Oh, I've loved these since your book came out, but I will give you 2 comments, Rosemary.
Okay.
Our dear friend Jeff has definite comments,
I love
and
Jeff.
so doesn't our dear friend Dean. So Jeff's comments are fire. I don't want that. Just kidding. And then Dean's are, yep, we're the exact opposites, Rosemary. You warrior and me retrospective.
Well, Jeff, let's explain to everybody here. Jeff came to one of my workshops and he was convinced. I can't remember, Jeff, what you were convinced you were, but he was definitely convinced he wasn't a fire sign until, oh dear, he had no choice but to accept that he was. Having said that, he has embraced the fact that he's a fire sign. He's embraced it and he understands himself better. He now understands why, he's sort of the way that he feels, the way that he thinks, the way that he acts and reacts. And I love you, Jeff. You know that I love you. And actually, Jeff and I, to say that we're opposites, and we are now, Jeff is, you have to remind me, Jeff, as to which soul sign you actually are. But looking at Dean, yes, Dean, I am a warrior soul. And Dean is a fire sign and a retrospective soul. We are the direct opposites and we would absolutely clash. Having said that, there is no more wonderful, this is for you, Dean, there is no more wonderful, no more beautiful soul than a retrospective soul who has grown, who has embraced who he is and works to make things so much better, so much more compatible. And Jeff and Dean, I know that a while ago, well, actually some while ago, Dean had an epiphany, realized what he was doing to himself, realized his negativity, realized that his retrospective attitude was actually damaging him, and has been working tirelessly to make it better for himself. So I think, Jeff, I think, Dean, please let us know if I'm correct in that. I think pretty much I am. And Jeff, I could say the same about Jeff too. So it's so funny. We've got Jeff and Dean who could really get together and commiserate with each other and help each other along and totally understand each other because they are so similar in so many ways. Knowing about your soul sign, knowing about which soul sign you actually are, explains why you think the way you do. It explains why you are so much more compatible with some people than you are with other people. It explains, if you just look at in your own family, in your own family grouping, it explains, why the relationships are so different perhaps. I'll go to my own family. I have 5 siblings. And every single one of those siblings is different. We're none of us, we don't act the same, we don't react the same. My brother Malcolm and I are both earth signs, and we are also both warrior signs. And so we act and react very similarly. We also have the same ideas about different things. And the weird thing is, and this is a very weird thing, we have the same silverware in our houses. We live miles, hundreds of thousands of miles apart, and he's an awful lot older than I am. But we have the same silverware. We have the same books on our bookshelves. We have the same plants in our gardens. We are so similar in so many weird ways. And here is one of the weirdest things of all I'll tell you about my brother and myself. So now, Chris, you'll bear me out. If I said to you, what are my food cupboards like? What would you say? What would you say, Chris?
You put me to shame with your organizational skills.
So all of my cans are all in rows. The labels will turn just so that when you open the door, you can see exactly what you're looking at. Somebody can say to me, come into my kitchen and say, can you tell me where? And they could give me the most obscure thing that they were looking for. Can you tell me where that is? And I would be able to say, third shelf, cupboard on the right, third shelf, second down, 2 rows in. I could, because this is my look. I'm obviously anal. I'm very strange, and all of my cupboards and all of my drawers are exactly like that. They are exactly in order. Now I'm looking at my coffee table that I'm sitting in front of, and it's a complete mess. But open my cupboards, open my drawers, you'll see I'm as neat as a pin on the inside, and my organization is amazing. I remember many years ago going to my brother's house. Now, my brother and I were a lot older, so he had left the house way before I was growing up. And so, so this is something that it's a weird thing. It's not something we were brought up to be like, because none of my other siblings are like this at all. But I went to my brother's house, and he was not well at the time, so I took lunch, and I was in the kitchen. I was preparing lunch, and I was searching around. First of all, I noticed the silverware. I'm thinking, this is exactly like mine. How come that? And there were so many other things that were exactly like mine. But then I got this absolute shock when I opened his food cupboards. I opened them up, and I was like, you've got to be kidding. They were just exactly like mine. It was like being at home. It was so wonderful. Yes, I know I'm a little crazy. All right. So now it was so, because you rarely see this in people's houses, let me tell you. So my friends who had driven down with me, actually they'd driven me down. I called to them. I went into the living room. I said, you've got to come and see this. Because everybody who knows me, when I open my cupboard doors, they're a bit shocked. It's like, oh, what's going on with your cupboards? Because they are so precise. So I said to my friends Lynn and Pete, you've got to come and see this. So of course my brother and his wife came into the kitchen as well, and I opened the doors, and Lynn, my friend, said, oh my God, I don't believe it. I can't believe it. And my friend Peter saying, you've got to be kidding. And my sister-in-law, Jean, who she's lovely, she said to me, she thought that we were actually, we couldn't believe our eyes that it was so neat and tidy. And she looked at me, she said, I know, Rosemary, it's awful, isn't it? She said, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm not allowed to put anything in the cupboards. I'm not allowed to touch it. That's all your brother. And I looked at her and I said, yes, but isn't it wonderful? And my friend said to her, Rosemary's cupboards are exactly like your brother's. Weird, right? But my brother and I, we're both earth signs. We're both, I mean, that doesn't necessarily explain the cupboards, but it explains how we have to plan and how we have to organize and how we have to sort of put things together. And those of you who are fire signs, Jeff and Dean, I'm so glad you made the comments there. We want more information from you. I mean, I don't know how neat as a pin you all are, but neat as a pin and organized is very much a trait of an earth sign. And if you are a fire sign who is not at all neat and tidy, it would drive you crazy, wouldn't it? It would absolutely drive you crazy. So now, if you're living with Jeff, an earth sign who has the plans and and knows exactly what she's doing every day of the week, mostly, and is very organized. You can understand if you're not an organized person, but you're living with an organized person, oh my, that must drive you crazy. It drives you both crazy. In relationships, there are so many things, often small things, that are incompatible between us. Just little things that are irritations that get on your nerves that really can make you really upset. And so, so it's very interesting, all of these relationship issues. It's very interesting to see how they all work. And the thing about soul signs, which I absolutely love, is that it explains in detail. You can see when you read it why a relationship that you might have had didn't work out. You can see in detail. It'll, it hits you in the face. We don't always necessarily want that, do we? But it will explain why you found that person to be absolutely not the person you could live with because of his habits or because of the way he's thinking or because of the way he acts or reacts, or that he has a different way of approaching things than perhaps you do. So it's really interesting. I find that Soul Science is one of the best and one of the most helpful and also hopeful books that I've ever read. Of course, I wrote it, but having said that, I wrote it with Grey Eagle, explaining every little detail to me. And I just find it to be the most amazing and helpful book. And first of all, it helps us to understand not just our sorry, it is a live show. Let me just have forgotten to switch that on. So first of all, it explains, how relationships work. It explains who you are and how you feel and how you think and how you react to things. It explains exactly. And it also explains how your interaction with other people, with other soul signs, with other different types of soul signs, how that can work either to your benefit or not. It also, I think, makes you more understanding. You become less critical of others. You'll simply say, oh, well, he does that or she behaved that way because, oh, well, me, I would say, oh, fire sign. Here we go. Fire sign, fire sign. Yeah, fire signs are lovely. And in fact, one of my closest friends, and my longest, I think, longest term friend, is a fire sign. She's lovely. She's a bright star. There are times when I could absolutely wring her neck, but she's beautiful and she's a beautiful soul. So don't get the impression that I'm thinking that all fire signs are awful, because I am not at all. Just FYI for Dean and Jeff out there. I have lots of fire friends who are fire signs. And once you know all about them, once you know how people think and how different soul signs think and how they act and react to different things, it can make you so much more tolerant and understanding of other people and their behavior.
Jeff
Chris,
makes a great comment, Rosemary. So they both followed up with you. I'll start with Jeff. He says, as a fire retrospective, self-acceptance without a demand for others to see me has been the gift of soul signs for me. With the pandemic, our life as fire sign me and her earth ways are being tested. Most earth signs are good people too, haha.
Thank you, Jeff.
And then Dean had said, "You are right, Rosemary, about moving into maturity as a retrospective. Thought you once said, in quotes, if we were together, we would probably kill each other. Ha ha."
Yes. Although, Dean, to be clear, when for everybody else, when I first met Dean, uh, I- he. I think it's fair to say, Dean, you were struggling, and all of your retrospective tendencies were right at the fore, and you were a very unhappy person. But you have matured, and and have grown so much, and I so admire, and Jeff too, and I so admire those retrospectives who can say, oops, that's us. Because for me, being an earth sign, the worst soul sign that I could imagine being, the most difficult would be to be a retrospective soul, because they have the biggest struggles, I think, and the hardest struggles. And when I see a retrospective soul, as I do with Dean and with Jeff, who have that understanding of, they're embracing who they are, but they are maturing and have matured in a spiritual sense, and also in every other way. And, I just feel that you should be absolutely applauded, because I know how hard it's been for you, and I know how much hard work has gone into that, developing that maturity.
So
Chris,
I have a few more comments about
oh,
this.
yeah, go for
Suzanne
it.
Suzanne said, "I love the topic of soul signs." Mary says, "It's extremely interesting to hear about love. My late parents have been in my dreams this week, and I'm having trouble picking up on any advice that they may be giving me. Can you help me?"
Well, I couldn't help by saying, you need, don't be impatient with yourself. Take your time and just listen. If they can't get through to you one way, I'm sure they'll get through to you in another way. I think it's about embracing yourself and accepting who you are. You know, so many of us, and who is this person I'm talking to now?
Mary.
Mary, so many of us, Mary, we so try to be what we think other people want us to be. And it's always a mistake, because we think that somebody wants us to be this way or that way. So we strive to please, we strive, and water signs are those compromisers. Water signs, uh, wonderful, wonderful water signs. What do we have again? We have the old soul, we have the peacemaker, and we have the seeker soul. And water signs are those wonderful people who they are the compromisers in our lives and in this world of ours. But sometimes you can go overboard, and it's okay to compromise, and we all must do it, but don't ever compromise your own self, Mary. And I think that there are so many people out there trying to be something we feel maybe somebody else wants us to be, instead of embracing our own selves, accepting our own selves. And once you understand about soul signs, and you read, you understand what soul sign you actually are, and it will explain why you behave the way you do, why you think the way you do, why you react the way that you do. Embrace that. Be pleased about it. There isn't one of us who isn't perfect in some way or another, in our imperfections. Not perfect. I remember Greg was saying to me many years ago, not perfect, but yet still beautiful.
And you have that meditation tape with that title too.
Yes, I do. I do. I've forgotten about that, Chris. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, I mean, we do have some meditation CDs, and yes, one of those is, and I'll tell you, I might have told this story before, but I remember one a beautiful sunny morning. I decided to go for a walk. I was living in England at the time, and I decided to go for a walk. And I went out into the driveway, and I started walking up the driveway. And this incredibly beautiful butterfly started flowing around, floating around my head. And I was not in the best situation at the time. I was not in the best frame of mind at the time. I was feeling very lonely. I was feeling very sad about different things. Anyway, I stopped in the driveway and I just watched for ages and ages while this butterfly just came flying and floating around and suddenly landed on my shoulder here. And when I was watching the butterfly, it looked perfect to me. It looked so beautiful. But as it landed on my shoulder, I looked down at it and I saw that its wing was slightly torn. And I heard Greg's voice in my ear. Not perfect, but yet still beautiful. And none of us are perfect, but yet we are still beautiful to our loved ones in the spirit world, to our loved ones who are here on this earth plane, to God, to all of those spiritual beings that are out there who are taking care of us, to our angels. And yes, I did make a meditation, which is called Not Perfect, but yet still beautiful. And it helps to remind us, I think, Chris, I don't know how you feel about it, but it helps to remind us that, you know, we don't have to be perfect. And it's okay not to be perfect. We are still beautiful, even in our imperfections.
Well, you have lots more comments, Rosemary, if you want to
Go.
go for some of them. So,
Yes.
Julia says, "Thank you so much for the wonderful explanation. Lots of love from Julia from the Netherlands."
Oh, thank you, darling.
Amy says, "Love this topic. I have read this book many times. It's such a useful tool."
Isn't it? Yes, it is. I'm so glad that you've read it. I'm so glad that, you know, you found it useful.
We have Omer from Turkey saying hello. On the subject of
I'd like you to
organization,
say hello to Omar. Hi, Omar.
on the subject of organization, Bright Star says, "I can't even find my sugar pot." And Cheryl
Well,
says,
wait, I can tell you exactly where mine is. Once, just kidding. Go for it. Yeah.
Cheryl says, "I'm not organized. My stuff is just all over, but I know where everything is."
Oh, you're one of those. Oh, I love that. You know, what is it? In or disorganized in the most organized of ways. I love that. Yes, I couldn't be like that, but I love it. Go.
Michelle has a question for Gray Eagle.
Okay.
She wants to know, will I have a relationship with a nice guy I met named George? Thank you. Lots of love for all.
You need to read soul signs, my darling, because it will help you. Um, you know, there are so many things in relationships that can go right, and there are so many things that can go wrong. I think it's what you have to do in order for something to work, in order for a new relationship to work, is to certainly not bring in the old stuff. You know, we've all had those relationships where things didn't go right, and we look at that person and we see, you know, what they did wrong. Of course, we rarely look at ourselves and wonder what we did wrong, but try not to judge by what you have experienced in the past. And don't forget, communication is the key to good relationships. Chris,
Uh, Good morning, Rosemary. It's Matthew. You
good
look
morning, Matthew.
beautiful today.
Oh, thank you.
I am still seeing my orbs, and thank you for all you do.
Oh, you're sweet. Thank you so much, darling.
Miriam says, um, "I'm a water sign, Pisces, and no, sorry, a man, a water sign, Pisces, and a woman, an air sign, Aquarius. Feel it could work, but like a wave smashing at the beach, is full of air and bubbles for some time, but
Okay,
then the air leaves."
let me stop you right there. We are not talking about um, astronomy or astrology. When I mention different soul signs, we are not at all talking about astrology. This is a whole different type of energy. It's a whole different way of looking at things. This is about how our soul has been constructed, what type of energy our soul is made up from. It has absolutely nothing to do with astrology. We are not talking about astrology. And let me just say, I'm no expert in astrology. I do not pretend to be. Soul signs is not about astrology. It's about energy. It's about what type of energy our souls are created from. It is about compatibility of energy. It is a whole different subject. However, if you are interested in astrology, you might find it interesting to take a look at soul signs, because after all, everything in this earth is connected and everything in the universe is connected to everything else. But again, and for the final time, this is not, we are not talking about astrology. Chris.
Adrian says, "Good morning. My
Morning.
sweet doggie Callie passed last year, and I was just wondering if anyone was there to greet her in heaven. I miss her so much."
Well, this is a subject very close to my heart right now. And I can tell you, Ray has put his hand on my shoulder, so I know I have to give you a message. The answer is absolutely. She was met, she embraced by all of those that she loves. Please try not to worry. I'm not going to tell you not to miss her. I woke up this morning missing Kachoro so badly. And, my daughter and my grandson are leaving on Saturday, and then the house will be just me. And it's been me and for I don't know how many years, at least 40 or 50 years, there's been a little creature one way or another in this house. So this will be the first time in well over 40 or more years that there it's going to be just me. So it's tough. It's very hard for us, but embrace the loss. Embrace your grief. Don't be embarrassed. It's only a dog. It's only a cat. It's only an animal. What's the matter with that? Embrace it. But what I do try to do, maybe this will help you with your little darling. What I try to do is although I miss Cachorro, I just try to think, but I know he's happy. I know he's having a good time, and I know that his angels came to him as they did with your little one, Chris.
Matthew's also trying to help by saying, "Our pets are there. I know for a fact because so many orbs, and
Yes.
he's lost two."
Oh, yeah. Yes. Well, Matthew, you know that they are there. So, and I know that they are there too. Yeah, we have to embrace that fact. Chris.
Matthew continued by saying, "They show up in my videos and interact with my living dogs. Low backlight flash on. They'll show up. I noticed them after I lost my two dogs."
Oh, how nice. How nice, how nice, how nice. Keep going, Chris.
Annie says, "Good day, Rosemary. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. I had someone very close pass away last year. I'm just praying for strength."
Well, if you'd allow us to, we'll certainly put you on our healing list. Again, it is, embrace the grief. Don't be afraid to cry. Don't be afraid to let other people see you cry. There are so many of us, and we try to be strong, don't we? We have a loss, and we try to be strong, and we think we can't cry in front of other people because it's going to upset them. But what I try to tell all of my families, what I try to tell all of my clients, what I try to tell all of my friends is, if you embrace the grief, don't be afraid to cry. Because if you cry, instead of trying to be strong, instead of thinking, that's what you need to do for everybody else, if you can be strong but you can still cry, that gives other people permission to cry too. So don't consider crying or grieving a weakness, because it is not. So if you can show how you're feeling and show your feelings to others and cry when you need to, then it allows other people to cry too. Keep going, Chris.
Kassenija is on and says, or is asking, to graduate from the earth incarnations, does every soul have to experience such hard lessons among other lessons, as being a victim of a massacre or one doing it?
Oh, it's a good question. I like this question. It's a very thoughtful question too. I think that I don't think that everybody necessarily experiences the pains that you're talking about, or the traumas, or and so on. And it's interesting that you say the massacres, whether you're a victim of or whether you're the perpetrator of, because uh, I think maybe on Saturday I'm going to tell the story of a patient who was German, and he was a soldier conscripted into the SS when he was young. And when I knew him, he was in his 60s, and that's as much as I'm going to tell you. But I can tell you that often the perpetrators of crimes can suffer just equally as the victims, and sometimes more so than the victims. Um, but it is an interesting question. So I'm going to say I don't think everybody has to go through such traumas, but I do know that, many, many years ago, we were told by a wonderful entity in the spirit world, um, the greatest gift that we can give to you. This is from someone in the spirit world. The greatest gift that God can give to you is the gift of pain, because it is only through the gift of pain that we learn and that we grow. We, through our tears, through our heartache, and through our pain, those are the ways that we grow the most. Those are the ways that we can find more understanding. Those are the ways that we become more empathetic towards other people. Those are the ways that we can embrace our own selves and understand, that pain is part of living. So I do know that there are many who think that the gift of pain is what is needed and what is necessary for us to learn and for us to grow. Chris.
Betta says, "Good morning, Rosemary. I
Good
would
morning,
like to
Betty.
ask Gray Eagle if it is some one of my relatives today, or if he has advice of the day for me. Thank you for all."
Um, all right, Betta. I can give you this from Grey Eagle, and I have no understanding what he's saying to you. So let's hope that you do. Uh, I think you're asking how to deal with the day. Grey Eagle is saying, open your eyes, open your heart, embrace the pain, and be joyful. There you go. Chris.
All right. Just scrolled on me. There we go. Suzanne says, "I see on your website there is another chance to take part in another webinar about soul signs. I'm so happy. Thanks for the new opportunity." We haven't reset the date for that, but that's absolutely true.
We are, um, you know, the last few weeks, the last actually few months have been a little hectic, and my back has been out, and I'm sitting here on this sofa thinking, just trying to avoid the fact that it's really aching a bit. Um, but my back has been out, which has not allowed us to. I've been very remiss, and it's not Chris's fault. And I'm sorry, Chris, to put you through this, because I know that we're trying to get things organised and sorted out. But when my darlings leave on Saturday, and I've just said I should be all on my own, and no little ones around, and except those in the spirit world who I know will be with me. So next week we're going to be working really, really hard to start and create something positive and get some dates together and get sorted out, right, Chris?
As soon as you're ready, Rosemary, your healing comes first.
Well, I was just thinking, there's no reason why we can't organize everything, even if I'm in bed, stretched out, so laid out with my back straight.
That is true.
Anyway,
Uh,
so we'll get it organized as soon as we can, and I thank all of you out there for being as patient and as loving as you have been.
all right. Cheryl says, my parents divorced when I turned 18. My mom remarried. My dad did not. My mom passed first. When my dad passed, who is he with?
Oh, well, this is so interesting because this is, you know, we started off with soul signs and relationships, didn't we? And we're still about relationships. It's still February, so we're still about relationships. You know, very often, and it depends, I know, how people do part because there's a obvious acrimony between relationships. There are fights, there are arguments, there's bitterness, there's all sorts of things go on within relationships. But I do believe that when we pass into the spirit world, we do have a chance to understand better. We have a chance to see much more clearly. We have a chance to see both sides of things. We have a chance to see where we went wrong, and we also have a chance to see where somebody else went wrong. And we have a chance to put things right. So you know, I have had so many people, I've spoken to so many people in the spirit world who have said, you know, that they have, let's say, made up and have formed a new relationship and a better relationship with greater understanding of why things went wrong. I have also had those people who have said, I never want to talk to him again, I never want to see him again. So it depends really on the individuals. There are no set rules. um, you know, when I pass into the spirit world, it would be nice to see my mother, but she's certainly not the one I should be looking for. I should be looking for my daddy first and foremost, and my brother, and then whoever else has gone before me. But you know, it depends. And here's another thing. Let's say I'll be looking for my daddy, but he's decided for whatever reason he doesn't want to be around me. I'm hearing him laughing right now because I know that's not going to happen. But let's say we're looking for someone who doesn't necessarily want to meet us. Nobody's forced into doing anything that they don't want to do. So some people will be a bit disappointed if they, you know, if that they, you know, they want to meet someone or they want to be with someone, but that someone chooses not to be with them. It's very much, we have choices. So I can't answer your question specifically. However, I do believe that they will be together if they so choose. They will be together if only to have a conversation and to develop an understanding and to see where they went wrong. And again, we come back to soul signs. You know, people live together in incompatibility for years and years and years and years sometimes. Oh, what do they say? For the sake of the children. Then when the children leave home, well, you know, I'm too old now to find something else or to find somebody else. Um, you know, soul science explains all of these things to us. Soul science explains the reactions that we have and the way that we think and the way that those around us think. So, you know, so this is why it's such a helpful book. And I've even heard people say that, you know, soul science is my Bible because they literally do help use it to help to understand them in any and every relationship that they ever have. I look at my grandson and I know exactly what soul sign he is. I look at my daughter, boy, oh boy, I know exactly what soul sign she is. We're all compatible in our own ways. Amazingly, we are compatible in our ways. Um, uh, and which is a good thing. But if there were incompatibilities, I'd be able to look to soul signs. I'd be able to understand what soul sign they are, what kind of energy they are, and it would be so helpful for me to understand them, and it's also helpful for us to understand our own selves. If Jeff or Dean have any more comments about that, I'd love to hear. Keep going, Chris. Why don't you?
Miriam says, considering past lives, how should parents see their special needs son or daughter besides their love for the child? Should the parents also look for spiritual help for the child and themselves?
Well, I think that children who have special needs very often are such beautiful souls. I don't think they need any spiritual help. They're here, they're sent to us in order to help us to give us that spiritual need. Uh, if you if you were lucky enough, as I was, of course, and Chris, I know you participated when Great Eagle spoke to us a few weeks ago on our one of our webinars, and we had our wonderful Tomas, who came through to talk to his parents, came through to talk to us. Tomas is an earth angel. He lived on this earth. He was so, by the time he passed, he couldn't walk, couldn't talk, couldn't speak. He was born walking, talking. He was born, let's say, a normal kid, not necessarily walking and talking, but you know what I mean. He had a disease that slowly took over his body. He was an earth angel. He gave something to every single person who he ever came into contact with. He gave them something of himself, which was beyond being able to walk, to talk. He gave them something of his energy, of his own soul, and people went away feeling better for what he gave to them. So many of our, as you call them, special needs, I don't think they have special needs. I think they come to those of us who need special attention, who need something special. They come to us to teach us. They come to us to show us what love is about. They come to us to show us that, how to love irrespective of any flaws or faults. They come to teach us how to love unconditionally. Chris.
Bonnie says, I have two questions, one for Gray Eagle. I lost my mom several years ago, and I'm wondering if my mom is close by and watching over me and my siblings.
I can
Also,
I can answer that one straight away, because Greg is saying without a doubt, yes.
the second question is also, can dogs be reincarnated?
You're talking to the wrong person when you're talking about reincarnation here. I have a very different take on reincarnation than most people do. So I'm going to leave that one. Maybe we'll talk about it another time when we have more time. We all choose. Some of us choose to come back here and to live this life again. I suppose that could apply to our pets also. Some of us, though, most of us choose to explore. Remember that the universe and the many universes that are out there are there for us to explore. So we don't necessarily need to come back here and do this all over again. I know that lots of people feel differently, but this is the way that I feel, and this is the way that I've been taught, and this is the way that I've been shown. We do not need to come back here to do this all over again, but some of us, I suppose it's those same people who go on holiday to the same place year after year for the last, I've been coming here for 30 years, and that's great, because it's where you feel comfortable. I suppose they're certain kind of people who might say, yes, I want to come back to this earth and do this all again. I personally like to go to different places for my vacations every year. I like to explore this world of ours. I like to see, and I've been very fortunate that I've been able to do that. I like to see different things. I like to explore different ways, different cultures. So I know that when it comes my time, and unless somebody says to me, you know, we'd love you to go back there and do this all again, Rosemary, I probably would be saying, well, actually, I'd like to explore a bit. I'd like to go and look at different universes, or look at more at the universe that we are in and explore more. Chris.
Dell is on, and Dell
Hi,
is
Dell.
very interesting to me. I think he's very brave, he or she. It looks like a he. What a load of absolute cobbers.
Cobblers.
Cobblers.
Okay.
Now, I haven't heard that term, and I assume you know what that means.
I do. Are you English, Dell? Is that it?
That's it.
Oh, well, everybody has their own opinion, and you're entitled to yours just the way that I'm entitled to mine. Thank you for being, well, not too respectful, but not so bad. And we're happy to hear your opinions. And if anyone out there disagrees with us, we'd love, we don't mind. It's fine. Please be respectful though, when you're connecting with us. So, Del, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Right, Chris, keep going.
Merce is the first name. Says hello, Rosemary. Good
Hi.
day to you from Malaga, Spain. My
Oh,
mom passed away last year, and I would love to hear some news from her, please. Thank you so much.
well, as you will all by now, maybe most of you will know, if you keep checking in with my website, just make sure that you check in every other day or something to the website. We are going to be having a webinar where we're going to be talking to the dead. We know that they aren't dead, don't we? It's just a turn of phrase. It helps people to explain. Greg and I will be for at least, it's going to be at least a 2-hour webinar. We're going to be talking to people in the spirit world. We're going to be giving messages. That's all we are going to be doing. Giving messages, giving explanations, and just it's going to be very similar to an evening with Rosemary, where you come along and I connect with those in the spirit world who are connected to all of you, and I will be giving messages. So maybe that's the forum. You need to check that out. Keep checking the website. We are still working on the dates, but we as I said earlier, next week Chris and I will get back to normal, and we will very, very quickly post the dates that we're going to be doing this. And as soon as you can do this one of two ways. You can continue to check on my website, which is rosemaryaltea.com, or you can put your name on our mailing list. You need to email us, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com, or Chris, Kris, Chris@rosemaryaltea.com, and just ask to be put on our mailing list. And so as soon as we know the dates, we will send them to you, and we'll be talking to people in the spirit world. And so, we know that this is going to be sold out fairly quickly, because we're going to have limited people, so that, I can't promise that every single person's going to get a message, but we'll give as many messages over the 2 hours, or possibly longer, that we do this, to as many people as we possibly can. So that's something you all need to look out for. Chris?
Well, you're right up against midday, Rosemary, but Karen asks, can you please tell me where I can find your meditation CDs for purchase?
Yes. Chris, over to you.
Please email the office and I will give you all the details you need. I think that would be the best way to say that. Well, I know you've got a deadline here, Rosemary, for
You want to
noon.
give the office address?
I just posted it on the screen, but it's Chris,
Okay.
Kris, at rosemaryaltea.com, or it can be Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. I will check both.
I would actually suggest you write to Chris, because she's spot on. She's on it every day. So any of your requests, anything you need to know, if you address your questions to Chris, she definitely will. And she's terrible, because she keeps coming at me, and she'll send me an email. So and so has asked me this. So and so has asked me that. I need an answer from you on this. And boy, does she pounds me, don't you, Chris?
I'd like to think I don't, but I'd like to keep things moving.
She does. She's very, very efficient. Would you believe it if I told you that she too is an earth sign, organized, and gets everything moving? So if you need to know more about anything at all, please email Chris, Kris, at rosemaryaltea.com, or Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. Either way, we'll get to Chris, and just put in your question. And if you want to be on our mailing list, please, you must request it. We will not just because you send us an email does not mean we automatically put you on our mailing list. We simply don't do that. So to all of you out there, thank you so very much. Thank you for joining us. We will be back on Saturday morning. I've already decided what I'm going to be talking about, or the story that I'm going to be telling. It's a very moving story, actually. And it's a story of healing. And it's a story of healing in the strangest, probably the strangest of ways. So I have to remember that I promised to tell that story. We'll be there Saturday morning, same time, same place, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And wherever you found me here, you can find me there on Saturday morning. And of course, we'll be taking questions as well at that time. Please keep checking us out. Please keep checking the website. That's where you'll find all of the information. In the meantime, please, 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 uh, all of you out there, thank you, Chris, for doing what you're doing. Thank you to Grey Eagle for always being, thank goodness, with me. And thank you to all of you, because why would we do this if it weren't for all of you? So please, all of you, have a very, very, very blessed rest of the day. I just want to say happy birthday to Eric. I could barely walk when it was your birthday, so unfortunately it didn't get to you. I don't even know if he's on or listening, but I just wanted to put it out there.
He
So
is.
it was Eric's birthday this week, and the daffodils are looking great. So please, all of you, have a very, very blessed rest of today, and hopefully I'll see you again very soon, if not Saturday morning. Bye bye, everybody.